I said one of the critical success factor, one thing that I would say that made us to succeed in crystallizing or in securing or in getting the approval of the biggest publicly funded renewable energy project in the entire world
Wow.
is this saying that what needs to be done today could be done, not wait till tomorrow.
There are communities in Nigeria that have never had electricity, not unreliable power, but no power at all. Around 80 million of them. Getting electricity to these places isn't just about poles and wires. It's about building credible institutions that have the capability to do this at scale and quickly. Abba Aliyu runs that institution, the Rural Electrification Agency. He's responsible for designing, funding, and executing last mile electrification across Nigeria. He's figuring out how to reach those communities that the previous models have failed and have left behind. Today, we're going inside the REA to understand what it actually takes to deliver power where it's never reached before. Welcome to Connecting the Dots. I am your host, Emeka Wopara. Abba, how are you doing today?
Very well, my brother. I don't know whether I'm working on.
Sector giant.
No, given the work you've done, you deserve it. And just one thing I think most people have, know you from the work you've done at REA, from head PMU to now leading REA,
Yeah,
but they don't quite know the backstory of all the different places that, in fact, I've met you in Ministry of Power at
yeah.
MBET. Could you walk us through that journey of your career?
Yeah, so I started my career with Nigerian Security Printing and Minting
Really?
Company. Yeah, and Nigeria NSPMC. In fact, their Lagos office.
Mm,
Um, First time seeing how currency is produced. That's where the Nigerian currency is manufactured. Uh, so that's where my career started. Worked there for like 7 years. Highlight of my my career in NPSM NSPMC is the setting up of the Abuja office.
okay.
Before the company only have their manufacturing plant in Lagos, in Ahmadu Bello Way in Lagos. But I think during Obasanjo period, there was a move to establish a second production line in Abuja in Garki 2. So I was part of the team that set up recruiting the machine minders, the litho managers, the quality control, the printers, the technicians, the engineers, the factory operatives. I was all part of
That
that.
process sounds
Yes.
quite
Oh,
complex.
very, very. It's really interesting to see how a currency is produced from just seeing the security sheets to getting it ready from I think in litho to intaglio to printing to quality control to finishing, because normally the currency is printed on the big sheet. So on
Mm,
the wide sheet, it's not just one currency, it's
okay,
so
yeah.
pieces of currency. So it's
Mm-hmm.
at that time it's just pieces of paper,
Paper, yes, yes,
right?
yes.
So till it goes to the finishing, that is when it cuts. They cut it into stacks and they
Mm,
cut it into bundles. That's when it becomes
interesting.
a real currency.
And from a very jaded point of view, we say Nigerians can't do things effectively and efficiently.
Oh,
I'm sure
absolutely.
that's not the case at Princeton.
No,
I'm
no,
sure it's very
absolutely.
precise.
Very, very precise. I think a lot of good things are happening. The technology in the Abuja is a Japanese technology. I remember when we sent our staff to Japan for training and they came back, started running the machines. It's really interesting. So from Nigerian Security Printing and Minting, I now moved to International Development Agency. That's my first time having a contact with development world.
Mm,
I joined a UK-based international development agency called WaterAid as the organizational development advisor covering West Africa. That was the first time I was able to even travel out of the country.
oh wow.
My induction was the UK. So highlight of that career, it's exposure to the development work, getting to know the impacts of providing water, sanitation, getting to appreciate what mentoring is all about.
Mm-hmm.
My boss then, Jonathan Burton, a British guy, I think he's still working the development world, mentored me, boost my confidence, and I became so much too confident. I think because I only stayed in the waterhead for just a year and a half, and I quickly moved to Family Health International, a US-based development agency, as the associate director in charge of their corporate services and HR. So I worked there also briefly for just 6 months because I was restless
Mm,
at that time. Highlight of my stay there was developing a performance management system that ties what individual staff are doing with a corporate objective. So oftentimes you see that organization, institution, they don't have that link. Even you as a person, as a driver, how does your work link to the 1 billion targets, for example, an organization is setting for itself? So I developed a balanced scorecard performance management system, which I have gotten the
mm.
patent right for it. So at that time, it was a document. So I was looking for an organization that I can practice it. And because it's more in terms of tracking profitability, tracking delivering of strategic objectives, it will best suited for a private sector. And an opportunity came for our head of performance management system in ASO Savings and Loan when the new management came in and
Okay.
took over the bank. So, and I applied, and instantly I was recruited as the head of performance management system. And that is where I implemented the patented performance management system. And guess what? It won the Microsoft 2009 Business Transformation Award.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, I still have the patent. So
Interesting.
in future, if you see me with a lot of cash, know that it's the
It's
patent
paying
right
off.
that's working, right? So from there, I after implementing it, I did some consultancy, a consultant for different development
Mhm,
institutions, exactly. And it's in that process, while I was also consulting for NATI, Nigerian Extractive
mhm,
Transparency Industry, I set up NATI while it was just an office after the departure of Obi.
mm.
I was the one that set it as an organization. The first set, even the current staff, most of them were recruited by me, including the ES that was just left. Well, I was the one that recruited him. Set of
Interesting.
OG, Ogbonna, OG, I think. So from there, that was how I had some contact with the former
Public
Minister of
sector.
Finance.
Mhm,
And when she became the chairman of MBET, and MBET was to set up, I was recruited as deputy general manager and ended up as general manager. And that was my first contact with the power sector in 2012. Embed was pioneer team that set up the organization, uh, um, moved from corporate services to strategy, from strategy to research and development, and had a stint as the SA to the former Minister of Power, came back,
Yes.
and that was from there moved to head the project management unit of the World Bank under REA.
Interesting. So you've had a very colorful career.
Yeah.
Most people know you and Nana as head REA, but they don't know all the different things you've
Yeah.
gone through to get there. And there's a perception that government can't get big things done. But REA has time and time proven that they're able to get things done, from the work that your team the team at NEP does, and also just the general REA. So how have you been able to really push to ensure when things are supposed to happen today, they happen today, and you're able to track that? Do you have mechanisms to track that progress for getting big things done?
Yeah, so like I said, one, I'm a big fan of performance management system, and the also a believer in balanced scorecard, right? So one of the famous quotes that I like is the fact that anything that you cannot measure
Measure.
it,
Hmm.
you cannot manage
Manage,
it,
of course.
can never be managed. So all the time, one of the key things that I like is keeping an eye on where do we want to go as an organization? What are the set objectives that needs to be done? And these objectives oftentimes just being seen from the financial objectives. No, there's a customer perspective, which may be in government, the people you are serving. So in REA can be the communities, can be the stakeholders. So customer perspective, financial perspective, internal process perspective, then learning and development perspective. So I normally try to make sure that I have clarity within these four key scorecards. What are the things that we need to do? And I build from there to
Mm.
make sure that we have the mechanism to get this done. That is one. Secondly, is also not leaving something that can be done today to say that you want to do it tomorrow. I want to place it on record, for example, one of the greatest critical success factors that enabled us as REA to crystallize the biggest publicly funded project in the entire world, the DES project,
I'm
is
sorry. I think you're not giving yourself enough credit. Could you say that again so the audience understands?
so I said one of the critical success factor, one thing that I would say that made us to succeed in crystallizing or in securing or in getting the approval of the biggest publicly funded renewable energy project in the entire world
Wow.
is this saying that what needs to be done today could be done, not to wait till tomorrow. So while I was the head of project management team, we have had the liberty to say that okay, because the process of theirs starting to get the approval of theirs started at the tail end of the previous regime. Many people were telling me that, oh, you're just wasting your time to start pushing for a project, which if the new regime comes in, they would not necessarily go with it. So why not just wait till the new regime comes before you start the process? But out of that conviction of what needs to be done today and should be done today, we started the process and we secured the first approval under the previous regime.
Mm.
And I tell you, that approval that we secured is the critical success factor. As the new regime commander, Mr. President, one of the first things he said he needed those big ticket projects that are impactful. At that time, theirs was very much ready. So it was easy approval that we have gotten. So that belief of if anything within your scope of control that you can do today, just do it and leave the rest, regardless of whatever other people will tell you. And that was one of the things that we did. And credit should also go to the former Minister of State, J.D. Agba, who, when I wanted that approval to transmit the request to Minister of Finance, and it was his last FEC meeting, he called me, we entered his car. In fact, it was in the car that he signed the document. We went to the villa, we dropped him for him to go to the last FEC of the regime. Then his driver dropped me at the Ministry of Finance and I dropped that paper. And that dropping of that paper was one of the things that made that project to be included in the borrowing plan and get it approved by Mr. President. To me, it's epic.
Interesting. That whole process has a bit of audacity to getting
Yes.
it done.
Yes.
Where do you get that from?
I very difficult question. I think I'm just like that naturally. I anything that I want to do, I'm passionate about it. And I set those targets to see that yes, something is happening. You have clarity of what you want to do and the little thing that you needed to do that. Let me also give you an example. There was a course that I attended at Wharton Business School. And one of the top leading executive of Pepsi, the global Pepsi, was invited, and he told us about the work he has done, how he succeeded, I think, in getting Pepsi to establish in Asia. I think either Japan or China, I can't remember, one of the country. There was difficulty at that time to have that full establishment. And he told us that he succeeded in doing that. So I asked him the question, as in, if he is to tell us one single thing that he has done that made that successful, what was it? And he told me that telling himself that even if, because there was some question around whether they will succeed or they will not succeed, right? So he convinced himself that it's better to go and try, even if it means they will fail. It's better than not trying, and at the end of the day they may end up even succeeding. So that conviction is something also that tells us to try whatever you want to do and wait for the result.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting to hear because I think um, when people have big dreams, they can't get it out of their head.
Hmm.
They can't get themselves out of the way to get those things
Hmm.
done. They're always so limited to, oh, what if I fail? It's
Exactly.
better you fail and get to a decision point
Exactly.
than
Not
say
even
not
trying
even try
completely.
because you'll keep thinking, what if?
What if?
But speaking of audacity and being audacious, there's the Na NAREF
NREF.
NREF
Yes.
NREF
Yes.
2025
Yes.
was when I say the audacity or the just the sheer level of stakeholders that came to that event showed a lot about your character, that you were able to bring in all these stakeholders into one room to discuss energy. But it's moved from access to how do you move it from to go from development and now to productive users, which is ironic because 60% of energy in Nigeria on the grid is consumed by households.
Yes.
So there's a massive opportunity on the off-grid end to now use this energy to be to focus on productive users. How did all of this come together?
Yeah. So if there's one thing that I would reflect on last year as a key achievement is that forum, the Nigerian Renewable Energy Innovation Forum. And like you said, it's quite an audacious move as a government agency to start to galvanize the entire country from consumption to production.
Hmm.
And I and my team, we sat down, and one thing that we always look at is data. Rural Electrification Agency has so much data, and we developed the competency of looking into that data. So we were intrigued by the fact that Nigeria overtook South Africa and Algeria as the biggest importers of solar PV panels, biggest importers. And we now said that this is not looking good. In as much as we don't want to disrupt the supply because there is need to import to bridge the access gap, but if we look at
Yeah.
the effects that keeps on going out of the country, more especially if you look at the fact that most of our intervention are development finance interventions. So when you borrow money as a country and half of that money goes still out of the country, it doesn't make good of the country. And that was when we started that move.
Mm.
And I remember one of my staff in one of our meetings saying that we unleash the lion that is in the cage when we started to talk about having that conversation. But we were very firm, and we galvanized the country. The entire country was galvanized. And we said that we want to change that trend. And I tell you that that trend is changing. During that event, we signed transaction of close to 450, $60 million of investment in Nigeria, which is taking place now. Three are being produced in Ogun Shagamu axis, manufacturing of PV panels. Within Ogun Shagamu, we have capacity of about 1.4 gigawatt of PV manufacturing. In Lagos, we have combined from PV and solar home system, and the investment we signed with Sunking, the Levine, and the Oxano, we have close to 600 megawatt capacity. In Akwa Ibom, we have about 1,000 megawatt capacity. In Kano, there is about 500. In Abuja, we have 250 and 500. We have 750 capacity. And from that kind of event, even after the event, now you see that made in Nigerian channels have been produced and exported to Ghana. Even
Yes,
now they
yes,
are doing
yes,
that. We've
yes.
achieved that. And for the first time in the history of the country, last year, towards the end of the year, Nigeria reverses the trend of the importation. What we had before was too much importation of PV panels, ready-made PV panels, and a very low importation of solar wafers, which is the component need to make the panels.
Mm-hmm.
And what we are saying is that Nigeria should have a bigger piece of the cake. We are not saying that we will do the entire manufacturing value chain of PV panels, because setting up the refinery is expensive and it's high technology. It's only China that has that. But we are saying that if we can have the wafers, some component, we can set up an assembly plant.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than if we have $1,000, the 600 going out of the country, let's say that 600 retain and 400 go out of the country, so that we can establish this manufacturing. And that is what we have. So towards the end of the year, for the first time in the history of the country, there's a reverse. The importation of the wafers overtake the importation of ready-made PV panels. And that is a good number. That's a greatest achievement of this present government. It's a number that we can talk about. It has never happened in the history of the
Wow.
country.
Huh. So it almost seems like, not almost, it seems like it's a deliberate attempt to
Yes.
prop up these companies.
Manufacturing. Yes.
And will we get to a point where if you win a grant from REA, you'll be mandated to use locally sourced material, or is there a component, or are there thoughts around that?
Yes, so this is the part of the end result of that enrave. It's apart from signing the panels, it's also we have had discussion with different set of people, the policymakers, the financiers, the manufacturers, association, the renewable energy service company, on how best to go about it. And that conversation, the committee has been set up and they're coming up with a policy recommendations, which will be taken to Honorable Minister of Power, who is responsible for all the power policies. But what we are looking at is having deliberate, the country to be deliberate in incentivizing this manufacturing. We can't just sit and say that we want to determine the future without taking an action. The future is determined by the action that you have taken today. So what you do today is what would determine tomorrow, next tomorrow. So that is what we are saying. Nigeria has to determine the future that we want. And the future that we want is to catalyze this manufacturing so that we enhance our GDP manufacturing and achieve the 1 trillion economy. So this policy may likely come. We have studied what India have done. India was successfully reverses the high importation of PV panels and made the country as a producing country. Turkey has done the anti-dumping policy and they have succeeded. Many Chinese companies have established factories in Turkey, and we have seen also Malaysia. So we have studied all this, and those recommendations are to be forwarded to the minister this quarter, and we'll see what the executive, the policymakers will come up with.
Wow, that's I think when I look through the value chain, and I'm sure our listeners have heard me say this on a few times, is the revolution for green energy, solar, wind, and even some small scale hydro is coming up to speed given the weakness in the grid, and there was a grid collapse last night. Um and renewables are now becoming quite popular. But what I worry about, and is the fact that a number of most Nigerians won't get the benefits of enjoying the green jobs because things are imported in, and will enjoy the power and all of that, but you're not able to be part of that value chain. So you're creating an industry elsewhere and they're giving you the finished product.
Exactly.
So that's the thinking around this, to
Yes.
create more jobs
Yeah.
given our high unemployment rate.
Exactly. That's absolutely. So and to achieve that, it's not just only incentivizing the private sector, but providing them with data. So during the Enrif event, we unveiled the research, which was supported by, I think, German government, that shows the viability of investing in manufacturing in Nigeria. We also have seen the need to build the talent, local talent, youth. We have teeming youth at employment. Why shouldn't we start to prepare them for the tomorrow? So we also created the RESCO Next Gen in collaboration with United Nations Development Program, UNDP, where we have now training close to 300 youth that are ready made to be taken by these manufacturing companies. We are now matchmaking them with different RESCO and the manufacturing companies. We have achieved that, and it's going to be in different cohorts. Cohort one would end in July, and by August we'll start another cohort. We are galvanizing the financing because we normally get support from the private sector, from the government, to do this training. And it's a 1 year training, not the kind of training that is just classroom 1 week training, you get a certificate. No, this is a 1 year paid training, hands-on, by which at the end of the year you can now easily be matchmaking by other implementers, manufacturers, or service company, or some of them even set up their own company. We have seen that. So we are working in that regard. We also working with the state government to make sure that they create incentive for this manufacturing. And that is why you see us doing the state by state roundtable. As at today, we have done 23 states.
That's
Next
amazing.
week, yes, next week we are going to have the 24th state, which is Benue. I want a situation whereby before July, we will cover the entire 36 and even the FCT by July. And that essence of that state by state roundtable, apart from partnership to deepen the implementation of Electrification Act and telling the states what needs to be done to continue to attract the private sector that we provide the grants to deploy mini grids is to also tell them what they need to do to attract this private sector, also investment in manufacturing. We want all over the country to have footprints of manufacturing. If you look at the cost of transporting a panel from Lagos to Maiduguri, costs you nothing less than 2.5 million in country transportation. So, and it affects the Nigerian roads. Why shouldn't we decentralize those manufacturing? You understand, to incentivize. So these are all things that we are doing, utilizing the economy and making sure that we spread the development across the country.
Interesting. And quite insightful because it seems like there's deliberate attempts to get not just focused on one region or one area. It looks like it's spread across the entire federation. Now, this builds onto your strategy for REA around capacity development. What else are you looking to achieve by this time, by the end of this year? What else is part of that strategy for REA?
Top of our strategy is electrifying 20 million people.
Oh wow. So which is 80 million don't have access.
Yes.
So that's you want to electrify 25% of the
Yes.
interesting. Okay.
And this is just taking into account just implementing one project where already we have a financing pipeline, which if that we're able to crystallize that financing, that number would change astronomically. We're working to get to catalyze the desert to power, $700 million, the Japanese international development financing of 190 million. To if that comes in, that number will increase by additional 1.8 million people that will be electrified. We are also discussing with French development for another 230 million. If that also comes, that number will increase by close to 10 million. So I'm just saying 20 million based on the existing financing. If that financing change, that number would change astronomically. So that is one key thing that we want to achieve. Second thing that we want to achieve is to also support honorable minister, because honorable ministers push is that we serve also in ensuring quality of supply in different areas. And that is why we are driving the interconnected mini grids currently, which is not many people know this. Rural Electrification Agency is project developing interconnected mini grid that will inject almost 230 megawatts into the national grid. 230 megawatts with battery storage connecting the entire distribution companies.
Is this one-off projects?
This is a project that we're implementing under DES, interconnected mini grids. The distribution companies gave us over 650 sites, but we picked under the World Bank 42 sites. Under the African Development Bank, we picked 14 sites. And these are the projects that combined capacity is about 230 megawatts that will be injected into the grid with the battery storage, and we coordinating it with all the distribution companies. So this is one of the things. And for you to quantify is to look at, since the Azura IPP, right, and the Zungeru, that in Kowa Kashumbila, which other new capacity has come in generation capacity. Ours is now the next big one. In fact, in terms of how big, if you are going to take the interconnected mini grid as a portfolio, apart from the Azura and Zungeru, we are the next
Yes.
230 clean, reliable, affordable electricity with a battery storage connected to the grid. It's a huge achievement under the present government.
And from what I recall, that's only one tranche of interconnected mini grids.
Yes.
Not the other tranche
There's more that we're going to
that would
develop.
be quite larger.
Exactly. So the third thing that we want to achieve is the National Electrification Strategy and Implementation Plan. We want to democratize the data that we have in terms of electrification. So I can sit here and tell you that, oh, we have built a mini grid in Petit, we have done interconnected mini grid in Yobe, we have done the Baragun interconnected mini grid in Ogun. Where are they? You may just rely on my information. So the National Electrification Strategy and Implementation Plan is now the data that will be an app given to everybody, and you can download it on your app on it. And if the MDREA say he has done a project in Petty, you can search and see the project. And it's a geospatial mapping that will show you the mini grid.
Really?
Yes, that will show you the community and will show you the mini grid. So this is something also that we are doing this year. Third, also that we are working on is the manufacturing to see that all these factories, not only they have finished their establishment, but they have started producing so that we achieve the target that we want to achieve at least this year, 2 gigawatt of manufacturing target. This is also something that we are tracking keenly. Fourth is also to continue to intervene in the critical sectors of the Nigerian economy. As you may be aware, we just, under the education, we have completed 15 projects.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. In 15 universities, Maiduguri, Lokoja, Yola, Damaturu, Katsina, Kaduna, NDA, Abuja, Ogun, Ondo, Imo, Ebonyi, Uyo, Calabar, all these projects completed and they are working. And we have started project development and developing another set of 8 over Pemi Awolowo, University of Ibadan, University of Lagos, where we are going to pioneer the first floating solar.
Okay.
The first floating solar. So like I say, Obafemi Awolowo, Ibadan, Lagos, University of Nigeria in Nsukka, 10 megawatts that will cover the entire university and the neighboring communities. Ahmadu Bello University, University of Benin, Federal University Wukari in Taraba, Federal University in Dutse Jigawa. These 8 universities also have been project developed. Not only that, we are also working with State Fund in another set of 12 universities and state university, federal universities, and polytechnic. That project is also, we have already started. The funding is a State Fund funding, but we are the technical managers. We are the one managing providing all the technical. So that is something also that we want to achieve. We want to also this year see the commencement of the renewable asset management company for the sustainability and future financing. The Honorable Minister granted approval for the establishment of the RAMCO, the renewable asset management company. All this federal government EPC finance project, we are going to move them to the balance sheet of this renewable asset management company. So we'll establish it with a big balance sheet that has this asset and will leverage on the asset to raise capital funding to continue to do this intervention. And at the same time, would ensure the sustainability of all this project to make sure that we provide funding from the tariff, which is going to be highly subsidized tariff, that at the end of the lifespan of the battery or inverter or the PV panels, they are easily replaced and will continue to intervene. So we want to see the achievement of the commencement of the RAMCO operation. Then lastly, we secured in partnership with Stanford University in the US, we're about to sign an MOU. We secured some grant of about $900,000 to do the AI mapping of Nigerian solar capacity. This is also unprecedented. In fact, it's only 2 countries that were able to do this AI mapping. A set of students in Stanford developed this technology using AI to determine the solar capacity of the country, be it household, be it CNI, be it solar farm, be it mini grid, and continuously update you with data in terms of capacity, in terms of operation, and give you the total context of that. So the Stanford University students developed that technology and it was tested in the US and India. So we approached them and the discussion reached to a level now. We have secured the grant and that's work will start. And by the end of the year, we have the total data of that. So this is just a tip of an iceberg of what we plan to achieve.
Interesting. So there's probably a few more things I want to get into, but time is of the essence. I'll ask two questions in one before the closer. So this is around what if you could change one thing as to how things are done in the REA space with the different folks in the value chain, what would it be?
Um, so there's this new conversation that's coming up whether our name should still stand as Rural Electrification Agency, or like what we have seen in other African countries should be Renewable Electricity Agency in the country. Having seen that and having seen the concept of work that we are doing and having seen even the kind of need around the semi-urban areas or areas where they need reliability, like the Minister of Power had mandated us to ensure we inject electrons in those communities to ensure the reliability of supply. If there's one thing that I would want to change is that change of a name to give that broader mandate and give us safe space to continue to intervene in these areas.
Wouldn't that then affect your grid extension projects?
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, currently we are designing a grid densification project. You see, the data that we have done, the National Electrification Strategy and Implementation, one of the things it has given us, apart from putting us on the accountability map, is also telling you the least cost of electrifying the communities. Where there is need to do grid extension, we know those communities.
Mm,
Most part of the communities in South East, South South, just need to do the grid extension, extend the grid because the grid is well networked within those areas
mm,
and the communities are clustered.
yes,
So we know that. So to say that REA would get out of the grid extension, no. In fact, we are optimizing it and we are designing the grid densification project with the World Bank. Hopefully, we'll get financing and we'll start a massive densification project with the SEP cost, state cost that the discourse are establishing.
mm. And I think given the interconnected
Exactly.
grids and all these this is actually a fantastic idea because
Absolutely.
you're still using renewables
Yes.
down the chain. So that
Yes.
really works. One of my first forays in the sector was I sat with the renewable energy department and Ministry of Power back in 2013 to write and to be part of the process to create the 2030 plan. I
Yes.
forgot
Yes.
what it was
Yes.
called. 30% was supposed to be renewable energy, right? Or
Hmm.
on-grid generation. And 10 years, maybe 8, 9 years later, the plan back then was to use the 14 solar IPPs as the first foray into renewables on the grid and all of that. But thinking about it further now, that's not given our great issues, that's not going to be the plan. The plan is going to be DREs using these small
Yes.
things to kind of move us to a place where, yes, it might only be 2 megawatts here, 1 megawatt here, but aggregated, it's now thousands of
Exactly.
megawatts.
Exactly.
Is that the path we're
That's
headed?
absolutely that's the path. Currently, we are projects developing the isolated mini grid, about 900 mini grids.
900 mini
mini
grids.
grids across the entire country. And it has never, no any country in Africa has have even half of what we are setting up. 900. Our target is to build 1,350 mini grid, of which 250 will be interconnected mini grid. Already we are working on 900 and something. And I can give you all the name of the communities in all the states where these mini grids are residing.
For an MD, you know way too much. You know into the details. So I wonder how you sleep, but no worries. The last question now, just wanted to put to you. Where do you see REA in 5 years? If you were to give that crystal ball look 5 years from now, where do you see REA? Obviously, the name has changed to Renewable Energy Agency.
Ah, it's another difficult question, my brother. You'd like to ask this kind of difficult question, but for me, I see that in the next 5 years, the country addressing the electricity access, achieving 100% access in the country. And to me, it's a greatest achievement. And that is where I can easily drop my cap and walk away, right? When I attended one of the interview in the TVC, the interviewer told me something that has stuck in my mind, that since the time of NPN, Nigerian People's Party, I don't know the name, in the 80s, right? During the Shagari time, but it was the slogan of the federal government to provide access.
Yeah.
From that time
Mhm.
up to today, that's the same thing happening.
Mhm.
But since that time to today, there was never a time where the federal government created a structured means to really address the access than what we are witnessing now. One program is targeting 20 million to get them out of that. And with the additional thing, the remaining 60, 50 can easily be covered. And I tell you, in 5 years, we'll come back and we would speak of not access, but something different.
Mm,
That's where I see REA.
yeah. I one of my greatest or one of my greatest desires is to create a society where it doesn't matter how you were born or what you were born to, you're able to be leveled out
Mm,
and everyone has equal opportunity to succeed.
yes,
And without access to energy and a few other things, you
you
cannot get
can't.
there.
No.
And I would say that access to energy is actually numero uno in
Yes.
getting that done.
Yes.
So well done, Abba. Well
Thank
done.
you.
You've been very audacious in
Thank you.
getting this done, and we're super excited of all the work that Ari is doing. And I'm sure when you go for commissioning, I'm sure people are super excited as well to have you and
Absolutely.
all the work you've done in the sector. Would you like to say some final words to our audience?
No, I think my final words is just the public should continue to hold us accountable. Witness, we don't just talk, see the results. We provide information in terms of where we are doing projects. People should go see those projects and continue to support us. But we'll address electricity access in Nigeria. There's no two way about it. That will be addressed.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Abba.
Thank you.
And last time I had you on was
20.
2023.
Yes.
So hopefully I can have you on in the next few months, in a year from now, to now talk about the
That is
achievements.
absolutely. I would love to come back by that time.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, my brother.